Welcome to the circle, everyone.
Yep.
Hello. Welcome. Welcome
It's
back
X, it's Exhibit. X to the Z.
Wait, what is that?
Exhibit, the rapper.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
No.
I have to look it up.
Pimp My Ride.
Welcome to the circle, Sean, and welcome to the circle, Dom. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah,
Excellent.
doing well. Looking forward to talking about this episode.
Me too.
Indeed.
Last time, we already have 4 folks watching. So if that's not Dom, Sean, and fake Starfleet boy, then say hello. And ooh, we got a couple comments. Let's see here. It's Fathery, Generation X. That's us. That's me. I'm
That's it.
Generation X.
Which one's Generation X?
It's the ones that were born before you guys.
Oh, okay.
What are we?
You're Generation Z or Y or Z? I'm not sure.
90s kids. Isn't that how we say it?
Were you born in the
90s.
90s or the 2000s?
I was.
I was
one
born
of them.
I was born in 1999.
Ooh, you made it.
So
Oh, he passes.
They partied.
just cats.
People partied like in 1999. Hello, Father. I'm glad you're in the chat. Let us know if you want a link to join the discussion. I know you like this episode, so it would be lovely to have you on to talk about it. But if not, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, you can see everything Father has to say about this episode on Text Trek, which is the start of TQIF. So we'll go do that. Hi, Ian. Nice to have you here. Shishan Girl, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the circle. That's what I'm going to say. Welcome
It's going to get so annoying. Jesus Christ.
It's going to get really annoying. I'm so sorry. I'm the guy who says annoying inspirational things all the time, so it's true. And Ian says Generation X is the slacker. That's true. We were called the slacker generation.
Really?
It is true. Yes, it is true.
Oh.
Which one of us is going to do the episode summary today?
Well, I did 2 weeks ago. You did.
I
last
know,
week,
Sean.
so
I think
maybe
you're due. I think
this
you're due. And
Friday.
since you were late and I did that long ass 30-minute summary.
That's
summary
fine.
for you
I'll
last time.
accept that because somehow this was a Colbert episode and he's my favorite character. So
I know. I thought about you actually when I.
Oh.
I'll try and make it to the point, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
that sounds good.
The USS Discovery and her crew, they need to find the Federation, and the easiest way, or the way that they have to do that is they need to unlock the information that is currently hidden inside Adira and her Trill symbiont. They are unable to do that themselves, so they think, why don't we go to Trill? They go to Trill. Burnham and Adira go to the planet's surface to unlock the secrets of Sid's symbiont. Shenanigans happen, but they finally manage to get the information that they need. Adira also has basically a life-changing experience. And aboard the crew, Koba is going around trying to figure out what's going on with the crew, because everyone is physically sound, but they're all mentally ill. No, they're all a little distraught by what they've been through.
Stressed out. They're like
Their hormone stress levels are elevated, is what he says to Saru. So Saru tries to figure out how to help them. He gets some help by the Sphere Data AI that is becoming the Calypso thing, and they try to help out the crew. It doesn't work, or it kind of does. It works like a dysfunctional family works at healing itself. And now that we have the information, we are off to find the Federation, I guess, with a healing crew, or a crew in the process of healing.
That's very
There you go.
succinct. Well
that
done.
is very. You. I don't know if I missed it. I'm sorry. I was a little distracted. But also, we get the introduction of Zora.
Yes, the Calypso AI.
Yeah. I forgot the name, but that's the Sphere Data AI that is now kind of merging with the Discovery ship,
And-
I suppose.
Oh,
I
it has
have to-
merged because it
Yeah.
defended itself last season. Remember when
Yeah.
they tried to destroy
Yeah,
it?
but now it's like fully integrated and is actually coming through the
It
computer.
couldn't handle a crash land though. It didn't do anything about that. I was like, that's fine.
It just came alive. Like literally could start talking this when I want to take a note real quick. We'll skip. I guess we could just start the great summary. It's when Saru says, "I need to heal my crew." That was the trigger word that caused the glitchiness to happen, and then for Zora to appear. So I think the AI like advanced itself, like it wasn't helping Saru, like the computer wasn't giving Saru the answers he wanted. So when he like pressed forward, it like was like, oh, let me just upgrade myself, and then Zora was
yeah. It came forward in that moment. I was like, let me step in and help.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I could, in my headcanon, I'll also think that Zora believes in Ditmas so much. It was like, I'll let her land the ship. She'll be fine. She can handle it.
Yeah.
Or how do you know that Discovery didn't do micro or some corrections to the like the repulsor?
I think she would have noticed if like there were things happening. Like
I think
if you're trying to land a ship,
fully integrated in that regard.
Well, I just want to say that when you do, there is a lot of like systems like that, like not to get all really nerdy here, and this is a ship thing, which Track Yards will probably dive deeper into, but like when you tell the ship like do a certain task, there is a lot of automation that's assumed. Like you don't do every micro adjustment, right? Like the ship does it. So I'm just saying that Zora may have been enhancing those already automated adjustments already, and that's why the ship landed successfully. Just saying. Well, I don't know.
Successfully.
Yeah, exactly. That's the theory.
It landed. We can say that.
The crew of Discovery being all stressed out in this episode perfectly matched the fact that the American public is all stressed out now as well. Yes. That's all I'm going to say about it. But yes, it is. They were talking about a lot about how prescient this season of Star Trek Discovery is, and it's true for many reasons. Like even had if the I don't know how much like coincidences and planning there was involved, or like if the feeling and the mood of the last 4 years, I can't imagine it didn't inform it. But yeah, definitely this season's crazy, and I think for the world, not just the USA, because we're all in a shared trauma right now, which is COVID-19. So I think that the episode is very universal. It's a great. It turned out to be very like perfect to address what's going on these days. Alexander says, I'm just gonna come out and say it. That romance part was my least favorite part. I mean, I just FFW over it. What's that?
No idea.
I
guess like face palmed or...
I'm gonna make that up. Yeah.
We'll do the Google research.
Yes. Nothing to do with the identity of the characters, just romance in general.
Fast forward.
People don't like romance. It's possible.
I will say I kind of agree with that. It was probably my least favorite, but it did enhance the trauma that Adira experienced from. I'm guessing we're talking about the Grey Adira romance.
Yeah.
Right.
And how traumatic it was to suppress their memories and therefore make them not able to access the Tal symbiote's memories. So it was nicely done, but I was okay with it, but I didn't need it per se. But like I said, it enhanced it, the emotions.
It also seems to set up a new and interesting thing, and I because I watched Equilibrium today, I couldn't help but wonder how cool it would have been if this was Worf's story. If they had thought like there was Dax was dying and Worf had to harbor. If Jadzia was dying and Worf had to harbor the Dax symbiote, and if this could have been it would have been interesting if Worf then became Worf Dax. Like it would have been a really weird. I know, it's kind of far out, but I'm just saying, like,
I don't think the other hosts of Dax would have liked that, considering who Worf is.
It is too ahead of its time, but
like they say, the only reason why Adira was able to, be a human host. We talked about this last week on why can the symbiote live within a human for so long. This hasn't happened before. But it seems like how close Adira was with the previous host being Grey Tal, that it made it possible. is what I'm saying.
It's
I-
interesting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I kind of, I don't know. There was this whole thing in Deep Space Nine where like a Trill symbiont and host couldn't get back together like romantically, or couldn't get romantically involved because it's taboo. I don't think it had any like physical or effects, but it was taboo that they couldn't get together. Like two Trill symbionts or two like Trill hosts that had already been joined at some point or whatever it was. I forget exactly what it was, and I couldn't help thinking of that every time. I was like, these two people have been a couple, they've been romantically involved, but now they have the same symbiont.
I think it was more interacting with people who had relationships with the previous host.
Yeah.
So the fact that Gray wasn't originally a host and then became the host, it was fine. But if Adira was with the previous host and then came with the new host, that would be the issue. So yeah.
In Equilibrium, we discover that the Trill have been lying to the populace of Trill about the compatibility of, they've been saying like 1 in 1,000 can be compatible with a Trill when it's actually half the population of Trill. And it's interesting, this episode follows up because it's obvious that secret never got out, which is interesting. So it's still a well kept secret, but it also it made me wonder, then is it safe to also assume that outside of Trill there could be successful pairings, even though the Riker, in the TNG episode it was not a successful pairing with Riker, but maybe again depending on also in that same episode in Equilibrium they pretty much established that it requires both to be perfect, kind of a match. The tall symbiont. I keep saying symbiote, but it's wrong. The tall symbiont is actually, even I think, I don't remember, but as I can remember that symbionts used to just kind of be localized to the abdomen area, but this one's connected to all of Adira's organs. I wonder if it did something special to make itself compatible with a human host, and that's why it's wrapped around her heart and all these other organs, because without that you would have all these other complications. So I don't know if that was intentional.
Maybe we
or if
just
that's
don't
me
know.
geeking out.
Yeah,
because we've seen physical scenes of like the symbionts getting put into, but then we've never really seen like the internal like diagrams of what happens inside.
I'm willing to bet that's false, because I bet there's a medical diagram from I'm just willing to bet. I'm just saying. I'm not certain.
Mike and Denise Okuda.
Yeah,
could chime
put something together.
but I mean, as far as I can remember from my very loose memories, it was only in the abdomen. But yeah, you're right. Something could be going on once they are inside. There's all sorts of connections, but it's safe to assume also that it has to do something different in a human, because maybe our organs are not the same and so on.
There are too many organs in a Klingon to be able to do that. He's got too many.
Yeah, it's got double. Yeah, that was good. Actually, good discussion about
what I liked about just they only slightly get into the topic of Trill society, and I liked how the Guardian, I think it was Guardian Z, or something.
Guardian Z. Yeah.
He talked about how allowing non-Trill hosts would be a way of preserving their Trill society, which I liked as a way to preserve them, considering how they said the burn decimated their population. It probably also killed a lot of symbionts in the process. I hope Dax is all right if the Dax symbiont's still alive. We still don't have like an age, a lifespan for the symbionts. I think in beta canon it was like 500, 700 years old.
This one's clearly older, isn't it? It's almost like
this
800.
one is the first host is a Picard era Starfleet officer, because they have the Picard uniform.
But was that the first? Was that the first?
It's host? 800 years ago. It's safe to assume it's probably the first. I mean,
so it's safe to
because that would give each host give each host a lifespan of like 120, 130 years, which is a lot. I don't know if you can actually pause the hosting. Like, I don't know if you can remove a symbiont, put it back in a pool, and then give it another host later on, like after 25 years or something.
I
Hmm.
think you can.
Because that would help with this
That would help.
symbiont in particular, because like not all of these hosts lasted 130 years.
Yeah.
But
That's
I really
hilarious.
liked the way the council was portrayed. Like the council was very kind of old-fashioned or conservative in its ways and very protective of its culture.
Yeah.
And I feel like that makes a lot of sense with what we've seen with Trill before, especially the way like Deep Space Nine portrayed like the Trill government, and like you were talking about how they would hide the truth from the population. Maybe that didn't get out. Maybe like the elders that knew that all died. And so like no one knows that it turns out maybe 50% of the population that's left could still host.
Yeah, and
But,
I
yeah.
liked that the different like leaders of Trill Society, which we saw, were all color coded in their different opinions. Just a little like aspect of it, even though it was like one's the guardian, one's the commissioner, and one's the leader. You know, the commissioner was very much, oh, we should forcibly take this symbiont back, and because it's part of our culture, why do you have it? Whereas Red with the Guardian Z was very much like, you've now become part of our culture and we should embrace that.
I really love the Guardian in the episode Equilibrium, and the Guardian in this episode was my favorite character. So to me, the Trills are true to character as presented on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Father Ray left a comment. He says, "Why wouldn't they last 130 years? Humans live longer than that and such." I agree.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like,
But you know, some of them could have died prematurely before.
yeah, we're
died
assuming they all
fatally.
lived full lives. But yeah, it would just have to. We would have to assume that the Picard uniform guy was the first.
Was the first one. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, we don't know. So Discovery gets to establish that for us, which is pretty cool.
We didn't see. Shishon Girl asked if we saw as many symbionts swimming around in the pools in Deep Space Nine. We did see some. I don't know if we saw that many, but I mean, the water's probably
It wasn't teeming. They were already like not as populated. You know, they weren't. They were already like not. There weren't enough, in other words, to support how many Trill could actually host. Right. So they were already pretty scarce, but the pool was pretty close to. I mean, there's a lot of enhancements, but you could argue that in 900 years, stuff started growing on the walls. Also, this is a different set of caves from the ones I think we see.
Oh, it's the same caves.
It's the
It's the same
caves.
name.
Oh,
Caves of the
Makala.
Caves.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. You're right.
But it could be like a different entrance or like a different. I'm assuming these things.
They were
span,
kilometers.
Like,
yeah. Jadzia says they're like kilometers long, like the caves. So yeah.
How convenient would it be that, you know, the Discovery shuttle lands close to where Jadzia went in? It's probably the caves are really big, and they were like, "Oh, there's an entrance, just, you know, 10 minutes walk this way."
Yeah, they probably have like a cave system that spans most of like, if not the whole planet, at least like a whole hemisphere or something, right?
I mean, what I think is now canonized from this, but it was in beta canon, is that the capital of Trill was called Makala after the caves. It's been canonized in this episode because when they have the Trill planet on one of the screens on the Discovery, it basically has verbatim the memory alpha thing with some added stuff, saying, "Oh, the capital city is Makala," blah blah blah.
Oh, that's cool.
So with the capital being named Makala and the caves of Makala, you can assume that the caves are probably pretty big.
Very, very cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Ian says, I know that a Trill was hosted by Riker in an episode of TNG, but did they also show Trills being hosted by humans in DS9? No, I don't believe so.
Like the Riker was like an exceptional thing.
Yeah.
The fact that happened. I was a bit I won't hold this against this episode in any way, but I was a bit disappointed we didn't see any TNG Trills. Like I would have liked to see those forehead Trills.
Oh yeah.
And I could say the same thing about Lower Decks. Like Lower Decks showed us Trills, but not in the foreground. This was an opportunity, I think, to have at least one of the council members to have those forehead bumps.
Yeah.
Or like a mix. Have like the color thing, like the tattoo things or whatever it is, and then
because I think New Trek has definitely done I would say a good job of melding these two these two different interpretations of aliens. So we've had with the Romulans, some being smooth forehead, some being bumpy. That would have been a good opportunity. I wouldn't want them to be like, oh, these are northern trills and these are southern trills.
Yeah, not the
More
same
like-
thing every time. Yeah.
I think trill
You don't
has
need
a
to
lot of
explain it.
ocean-
Though.
Yeah, you don't need to
Yeah.
explain it. I would just
Leave
say some are mainland trills and some are islander trills.
No, but you don't even need to get into it
don't
if you
need
don't
to.
want to. Like you just like, oh well, some of them like this, some of them like that, and then have one of them that's like a mix of both, and just like this.
Some
It would have
trills
been
are
nice if,
bigger than others. Some
one of the
trills are bigger than others.
If one of the guards was one of them, it could
Yeah,
have
that
also
was
shown
interesting.
like,
Like the
ones
warrior
with
class.
four heads are more a warrior class, like you say, than the spotted ones, which are more like scientific. They're in a symbiosis commission and all that.
Some trills' mothers are bigger than other trills' mothers.
But then again, I wouldn't hold this against the episode. Like we never held this against Deep Space Nine when it did it. They just chose to redesign the trill. Moving on.
Yeah.
But
Does my boy Toddy want to talk about Dr. Culber?
I do. He's great. I loved the opening with the medical officer's log. I think that was really nice. This is me, but I think that sometimes Discovery gets a bit melodramatic with the emotion and the music and all of that. And I don't need so much kind of music behind Culber's opening log. Maybe tone it down a bit. You know what I mean? Or just have him speak.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. But I enjoyed the medical officer's log, and I enjoyed the
I want that scanner. That
was a
awesome-
really nice close up.
Yeah,
And yeah, I liked everything that went on with him because his moments with Saru were really, really good in the ready room. When he was talking to Stamets, I don't know. I think it was really good. When they all get angry at the dinner table and then they storm off, I can't help but think that it's really awkward because they all storm off to the same turbo lift and then they're all just in silence in the same turbo lift, right? But
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple turbo lifts on the bridge, but yeah.
well, like one of them just went like Ditma went to her post and sat down at her post.
They're all time refugees. We've talked a lot on TNG about our TNG discussions about time refugees. And
They're
this
illegal
is
immigrants.
They're like, this is so in TNG there's like several out of time people that actually in Star Trek in general you have like in the original series films you have Jillian from Star Trek 4. She's a time refugee. You have the TNG era time refugees, but they're like in the future it's all exciting and then you never hear from them again. Now we're actually exploring a kind of a time refugee story and I'm actually loving it. And I wanted to address something you brought up in your video, Sean, and shout out to your video and everyone go subscribe to Trek on the Tube so we can get him up to 20,000 subscribers by Christmas.
It got a lot of engagement, that video, by the way.
I know,
Very nice.
because good for you. But I have a lot of problems with some of your assertions.
It's interesting because a lot of people vented
Assertions.
both ways. Like a lot of people vented like I love the episode and I was completely wrong in my video.
I was
but
surprised.
A lot of people said it the other way around as well. Like thank you, a lot of people felt the same way and they were happy to share. So anyway,
I'll
it's
go
good.
count. I'm gonna
The
go
com-
do a tally. I'm gonna do a
Go do
tally.
a tally.
I'm gonna do a tally and see.
I mean, the comments are the most important. The discussion is what's important, I guess.
Well, the only thing I recalled from that I disagreed with strongly, which is what I'm going to bring up, is like last time you were talking about you didn't understand Tilly's, like, she made this decision to come to the future. Why is she like regretful and complaining about it? I think this kind of answers it because everyone's kind of feeling it, and it makes sense, like. And I was thinking, you don't have to feel. You could do something brave that's gonna, what was at stake was like saving the universe, and you can do your duty, but then when you do that, like in the moment, yeah, it's all noble and it's great, but you can't expect everyone to then later not miss what the world that they came from, right? And I think in this episode that like it hit home because the other thing that Dr. Culber says to Saru, which I thought was very poignant, was like Discovery could just blow up tomorrow and literally no one would miss them. Like they have literally no time. Like maybe Book would be like, oh, what's Burnham doing? Oh shit, there's all the she got destroyed. Like that's the only
Oh
person.
no!
Earth Defense
Good
don't
thing I
care.
stole their dilithium.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
no.
true. Earth Defense don't care. They're like,
In my
if we
defense,
never see you again, no worries.
in my defense, I used Tilly as an example because she's the one that had the discussion with Burnham in that episode, and she's the one that was prominently featured on screen. But like, what I was complaining about is more the fact that 88 people went with them, and like, I understand that like the closest friends, they would go and then they would have these kind of this remorse or this regret, like, oh, why did we do this? But like, why did 90 people need to do this? Like, you didn't need the entire crew complement. They could have gone with a skeleton crew, or they could have gone just like the bridge crew. And I guess you need people to run the starship. But the idea was once the starship is in the future, it doesn't really matter if it even runs or not, because once it's in the future, it's done. The duty is done. They could have crashed the ship into a sun at this point. And I know they probably don't want to kill the sphere person now, but they could have crashed it into the sun. Be like, well, there's no more data, it's gone. Yeah, that my thing is like all of these people that have no investment, like half of these people don't even know who Burnham is, but they came to the future specifically for Burnham, and you can't use the excuse that they came to the future to save the future. They weren't needed. None of them were needed. Maybe Stamets, like Detmer, like these people that are important, the people that we saw in the ready room, plus Reno, because Reno wasn't there, she didn't get invited. They are necessary. The others, not really. Like, they could have just stayed with their families. So it's kind of like, okay, now you're complaining about it. The whole crew feels down. I understand why they feel down, but it's like, you shouldn't be here in the first place. The show shouldn't have brought them here. Not that like we need them. We don't even need them on the show. Apart from putting background characters.
I think that like there's probably, I think that like, yes, I mean we've definitely got precedents for running a ship on a skeleton crew and things like that. But I do think that in the moment, because the decision was made like right before that battle and this whole thing, like in that moment, maybe a lot of people 88, 89 people or whatever chose to follow Burnham, and that's something again that I think was a moment of passion. But and maybe not all of them feel that way. Maybe a lot of them are like.
It would be interesting to follow a story of someone that was just brought along for the ride, and it's like, really? I didn't agree to this.
I would say
that would actually be good.
They did have to take part in a battle before coming to the future.
Yeah.
So that would require more crew members.
Yeah,
to just make sure, if something blows up, repair it as quickly as possible. So the actual bridge officers can still pilot the ship and shoot down drones or whatever the hell control was. So yeah.
We got a couple of comments going on, which is oh, here we go. Triangulum Audio Studios, welcome, David. So what does everyone think about the conspiracy theory that Tal is actually Dax, just hidden away
for this episode? Because we saw the previous posts. So
yeah, that's true.
I still expect Dax to appear somehow. Like I'm still expecting to see Dax. But maybe not. Or maybe they did say we're going to see someone familiar, and I can't help but maybe someone in the Federation, or maybe they were literally talking about Spock.
I think they're talking about Spock.
I think they're talking about Spock.
Oh god, I would prefer Dax. We've had enough of Spock. Star Trek is enough about Spock.
Yeah,
can we have Dax?
Tom doesn't finish Burnham's story. Burnham needs to know what happened to Spock.
It's true.
Well, he died in the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, well, they don't know. She won't know that. That's going to be interesting how they address that.
That he became this prominent person in the Federation and found good friends, and became this person who tried to save the Romulans, and helped to rebuild Romulan-Vulcan relations and all this stuff.
We might have a photograph. We might have like a TOS movie photograph.
It'll probably be a photograph or a hologram.
Oh, that's right. It'll be a hologram.
Yeah.
I like that we have a new symbiont to follow. I do love Dax. I was hoping that this would be Dax, but I was not disappointed that it wasn't Dax. I actually I love the way that it got woven in, and it hit home because they picked such interesting actors and characterizations for the previous hosts. Like, it made me wonder who were these people, and it made me even wonder, like, is that one host going to appear in Picard? Will we see the tall symbiont in Picard?
Oh,
which would
that'd
be
be fun.
really, yeah,
That'd
it
be
would be
fun.
really interesting if we see them in season.
They were shown as a captain, so I mean that could have
Captain.
been 10 years after Picard,
Yeah, it could have been.
but
Yeah, but it is the
it would be
era
cool.
specific. It is the
Yes.
correct era specific uniform. So
Yeah.
as we know it, so I was super excited that we could get a Captain Tall
Mm.
in Star Trek Picard. So yeah, I was not disappointed. Would I like to see Dax again? Yes, I do agree with Sean. It would be nice, but I'm not fretting over it.
Well, it's finding the correct balance with like we as fans always want to learn more about our characters, our favorite character, but there's also finding the balance with the fact that the universe is huge and realistically it can't always be the same bunch of people, right? It's like it can't always be the Skywalker family. It has to be different
What are
people
you
doing
talking
different
about?
things.
What
I don't
are you
know. I don't know.
Get into that.
I think that was a stab at the expense. So it's good that we get to see another Trill Simeon, and I would like if clearly this show's in production for season 4, and if the show goes on, it would be nice to not have this character as a one-off, because most of our guest characters have been like season character. They come, they go. This would be nice to like keep Adira on, keep Tal on, and keep on exploring the symbiont relationship.
So the one thing I want to say about Tal, especially I think it was the final scene with Gray manifesting themselves
That was a
to
bit
Adira.
strange.
It's a bit strange. We haven't seen it before, but I think it will be a recurring thing. Ian Alexander as well as Blue DeBario were shown off as these new recurring characters.
Mm.
So, and I think we do know that both of them are returning for season 4 because both of them have been seen in Toronto. They've been quarantining at the same time all the other casts has, and I think as of today, were seen at some place which they're starting shooting soon.
In Equilibrium,
So I'm interested.
in Equilibrium, Dax, when she's Jadzia, when she's experiencing her kind of memories returning of the previous host, is hallucinating and seeing a hallucination of the host throughout the episode. And then at the very end in the pool, she actually embraces a hallucination of the host once she remembers him completely. I forget what his name. I think it was Joran or something like that. But then so she embraces him, but then they cut to a scene where it shows she's embracing no one, like that it's just a hallucination. And obviously Burnham didn't see Gray, so I'm thinking that's the precedence that they used to create this like relationship between Gray and Adira. My only fear about that is that in season 1 we had Ghost of Hugh haunting Stamets. In season 2 we had May haunting Tilly, and now we have Gray haunting Adira, and I think it's going to be a different tone. I hope it doesn't get creepy and scary. I hope it's more just like kind of going back to Battlestar Galactica, how for anyone who's seen it, there was the number 6 Cylon and Dr. I was gonna say Bashir, but there's Dr. What's his name in that? Good grief, my
Dr.
memory's so
Battlestar.
feeble. Thank you, Dr. Battlestar. Dr. Baltar. It's actually Baltar. Thank you.
Oh wow.
Yes, very good. Baltar is Battlestar without Adel stuff. Right, so adults, so it's or adults or whatever. Anyways, Dr. Baltar sees this character in his mind, but it's very real. So I hope it's more. I hope it's a new take from what we've seen so far instead of the hauntings. But yeah, it is interesting that each season has had a haunting now, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Someone likes hauntings or hallucinations on the writing staff of Star Trek Discovery.
I didn't see who wrote this episode. Do we know?
Three writers. It was Chris Silvestri. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. I'm going to actually Google.
Yeah, I didn't
had
know that.
done season 2 episodes. Alan McElroy, Chris Silvestri, and Anthony Maranville I think Chris Silvestri and Anthony Marinville did a Discovery episode, and the short trek Ephraim and Dot. And then
Okay.
the other person, Alan McElroy, had done a couple of Ennoble for Chiron and Perpetual Infinity,
Oh,
which
is
I
the
think were good episodes.
yeah,
remember.
and Obel was the Sphere Data episode, so
Yes.
that's kind of appropriate that he wrote the Zora character. Interesting, very cool. Thanks for looking that up, Dom. You just upgraded the show. We usually don't look at anything. No, Sean's
How do
always
you-
on the key.
How
Sean's
do you
always
guys
looking.
feel about How do you guys feel about Burnham being the one to accompany
Adira?
Adira on the planet's surface? Because so it was basically she was told to do so by
Coleman.
Dr.
Culber,
Culber.
which I'm assuming he off screen ran by Saru first. But I'm like, she's
love
not
it.
the most.
I love how you always need to have the protocol. Like, who did he? What? But actually, a medical officer can override a captain. Just FYI.
Well, the chief medical officer.
Well,
he's not the
yes,
chief
yeah.
medical officer.
Yeah, it's true. The CMO.
Yeah.
It's established for the first time. I think it's established. He actually says medical officer's log, but yeah, it's like she's not the most diplomatically apt character as portrayed by basically every episode of Discovery.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I would have sent someone more diplomatically inclined, if not Saru himself.
Well,
but
I like the reasoning that
Culber
gives. He gives it. He says that like what Adira is going through is something that Burnham.
yes,
has
but that's the
experienced.
emotional support of the character specifically. But they're also going down to Trill, which is 930 years in the future, or 931 past with like when they're from. I maybe would have sent someone with more like diplomatic experience, because that situation got really tense really quick, and Burnham's very in your face kind of attitude didn't help.
It didn't.
It didn't help.
I know it's hypocritical because I would be the same kind of dick.
I would argue.
Like,
I would argue the flaw was not in Burnham going down, but not having someone more diplomatic.
Another aide would.
Yeah, but I would say that I would wonder, other than Saru, like who have we met on? See, that's the problem with not knowing the bridge crew very well, or the crew in general. Is like who's the most diplomatic person? Like
you could establish a Woshikin because she went down on that.
Oh, that's right. You're right. That's right.
Season 2. And it's like, okay, so Pike took a Woshikin and Burnham, and you can kind of like retroactively establish that he took her down because she has experience.
I would have liked a Woshikin to have that moment too, actually.
So you bring her down. You can still have the Burnham going into the pools and all.
It was mostly so they could have the bridge officers having their meal and reconciling with their trauma.
Yes.
But I agree. I think it would have been nice if it was Burnham and Owo, and even if Owoshkin didn't do anything, it would have just been nice if she was there, and when tensions were raised, probably would say something like, "Hey, let's talk this out." Blah blah blah.
It's true. Good point. Burnham's getting better though. She kind of she waited to phaser everyone.
And she didn't kill them. She just stunned them because they said he's going to get back up.
Talking about that fight, the guards had awesome, like, spear swords.
That was so cool.
That was cool.
Like, it was.
Greetings from the future. Hello from the past.
Hello, Yosef. Nice to see you. We got a ton of comments. Let's see. Triangulum Audio Studio says we saw Jarrell do the same thing with Ezri in DS9. He just appeared. So is Jarrell not the one? Yeah, but that was Jadzia then. If
but he then reappeared to Ezri when she was looking for a murderer.
That's Facets. That's the one that you were telling me to watch, right, Sean? Is it? No.
Well, there's 3 episodes, I think, that kind of deal with all this. There's Facets.
I only saw Equilibrium. That's interesting. I didn't realize.
Equilibrium, and I think.
Is it another DS9 episode?
Yeah, this Field of Fire. Is that the one? Ezri Dax. Field of Fire is a season 7 episode. Ezri Dax is visited by a host at some point, or by a former host at some point.
Yeah, that's with the transporting weapon. That's with Joran. No, that's with Joran.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not fact.
Most visits in Deep Space Nine are from like the murderer host anyway.
Yes.
Like most time we go back, we don't really see the nice hosts or the normal ones.
Oh yeah, it's
We
all
focus on the.
Joran. Yeah. Um,
Very
Yeah.
cool. We have a ton of comments. Oh my god, I'm trying to go through them. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at doing the multitasking. Also, check out Trek on the Tube's Trill video. There's a lot of information. It's true. You have a Trill. Are you gonna update it
Well, no, I won't. I'll update
ever?
it someday. Like, well, I'll update it one day, but I've got other
It's
species
worth
to go through, and
Yeah.
yeah. The thing is, like, technically,
Can't you add like? Are you able to? Does YouTube allow you to add like an
No.
addendum?
no. If we could do that, YouTube would be a mess.
Yeah.
It would be just insane
Then
chaos.
you should just edit
I think-
weird stuff into a video.
Yeah.
Upload.
I think I'm gonna wait until like the current run of Star Trek is kind of over before updating these things, because Picard or Discovery or Lower Decks or anything could still establish plenty of things on the Trill.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Stress Free K from earlier says, "Oh my gosh, just now getting home and I could have sworn that I heard Starfleet Boy make a Morrissey reference. Panic on the streets of Bajor." Panic on...
Talking about Bajor,
Yes.
there's a mention to Hasperat Souffle.
Yes.
I was like, yes. Bajoran references.
Let's see here. Triangulum says, honestly, I was happy it wasn't Dax personally, but the theory keeps getting float. I haven't seen that theory until you presented it to me. Just saying. I'm not trying to be catty or anything.
I didn't hear the theory that I never heard the theory that like the host that we were following the symbiont that we were following was going to be Dax. But I had
heard
like,
that a lot.
oh really?
Yeah.
I was assuming that we were going to see Dax. Like, I was assuming that man in the red gown was literally Dax.
Oh.
I was like, this dude's Dax. He ain't just no Guardian. He's someone like important.
Well, he
but,
just a guardian.
yeah,
Ian
he's just
says,
a Guardian.
just a gather. Ian says, this once again illustrates the difference between the lower decks versus the senior staff. The senior staff all had a say in whether they went into the future, whereas lower decks were just stuck going. Oh my gosh, that could be true.
That would be so horrible.
That's so
That's
bad.
why Gene.
Why is Linus at the dinner
Linus
table?
now counts as a bridge officer.
Yeah, I guess
I
so.
don't know what position.
Okay, I guess sneezing on like another officer gets you promoted.
Well, he died like 10 minutes later, so it's fine.
88 people willing to go boldly into the future is the best of Starfleet. The fewer people who know about Discovery in the past, the better.
Yep.
Oh, that's true too. It's completely natural that they would feel disoriented and traumatized by their... What happened?
It's so horrible. It's like I've accepted this assignment on a ship called the USS Discovery. It's got all these science departments. I'm going to be able to do all my lab, my testing, and it's amazing. It's a wonderful opportunity. They took me to the future because I wasn't allowed to leave the ship because I wasn't allowed to talk about it. So now I'm trapped on this vessel. I hate these people. All I wanted to do is run my tests on my tribbles.
We already had that short track. He was sent off.
Oh my
Thanks
God.
for answering the question that Alexandra asked about the voice actor who played Zora. So it is the same voice
Yes.
actor.
It is Annabella Wallace, who is
Very
the same
cool.
as in Calypso, so it definitely is Zora. I just want to say I'm really glad it's the sphere data that is becoming Zora, because there was theories going along that it was going to be Control who becomes Zora. I'm just glad it's the sphere data, and I made this weird mention in my review on Trek Central, but it kind of relates to, this is just me going off on a tangent, it relates to Germanic mythology of a sea spirit called a Klabauterman, which is the spirit of a ship manifesting itself, a well cared for ship, to help the sailors in need and to warn them of troubles. So basically Zora is a Klabauterman. And
Like the
I just
Flying
like it.
Dutchman.
Kind of, yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, so if a ship is like cared for and loved by its crew, in this regard, it was them protecting the sphere data. it manifests itself to protect
pretty
the crew.
cool.
So
Where
in
can I
that
read this
regard, it's
essay, by
Zora
the way?
helping.
Because
That's very Michael
it's
Chabon,
really,
isn't it?
yeah, it's very
Michael
good.
Chabon. That's
Yeah, it's
probably
very
how
good
Zora
stuff.
came about.
Mm.
Because Zora and
You should
Clipper.
ask him. He answers questions, and if he didn't, I bet you if he
I
loves
really
that,
want to.
you
On-
should
on-
ask him.
On Twitter?
We should all harass you.
He's a
Huh.
lot more active on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you shared an essay on Twitter, he would definitely read it. That's really good stuff.
Yeah.
I love that we broke that on Starfleet Boy. Thank you very much.
Well, the review's already gone up, so that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I like the idea of a Klabauterman, and I just like that.
Klabauterman.
Also, it's really fun to say. Jack, who narrated the review, hated me for including that in the script because he can't pronounce German words. But yeah, I just wanted to include it.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Father says Linus is science officer now that Burnham is
Yeah,
the
makes
XO.
sense.
And why no? I agree. Why no chief engineer at the
why no
dinner
Rito?
party?
Well, someone
Where
says
was
back
Jet
problems.
Rito? What's that?
Yeah,
Oh,
like-
back problems.
Sandu says back problems. It's like, all right, fair enough. You couldn't wheel her in. They had to leave her lying down somewhere. So
Also, Tig Notaro doesn't want to commit to being a full-time cast member, so they have to sprinkle her throughout the season. That is true. We learned about that on the
oh really?
podcast.
Yeah. She just wants to like pop in every now and again. So she's not in every single episode.
Everyone say
Disappoints me.
this.
I'm
Yeah.
disappointed.
Klabauterman.
I'm
Tig.
disappointed, but I appreciate it.
I understand.
They're still in the show.
Linus is the sinus officer.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. By the way, I'm wearing my.
That's the
Lord
oldest
X-
joke in Discovery Season
Okay.
2. Come on.
What's that?
It's the oldest joke of Discovery Season 2.
I didn't hear that one. That's the first
I
Will-
haven't
Will-
heard that one.
Really? Oh
No.
my god, that's the first thing. Like the moment they showed him in the trailer, I was like, did they call him Linus? Or did they make him sneeze because he's called Linus? I was like, did they try to do it?
sinus? That's
Yeah, did they do a play on the words the moment they like? Anyway, and even after that, even Irish Tricky like put out a T-shirt or something about it.
Okay. Must miss that.
Oh my gosh, Stretch for K, maybe we'll do a Smith's listening party on Starfleet Boy after dark one day. That's really cool that you like the Smiths and that you met Morrissey. That's awesome. I wish I met Morrissey. I loved Morrissey. He was actually an asexual hero way before asexualness was cool. I think he used to tout his asexuality, if I'm not mistaken. So does the Hasbrat reference mean that one of the hosts spent time on Bajor? Yeah, and I think they showed that host at the end. I could have sworn we saw
Did they?
the. Yeah,
How would you know they spent time on Bajor?
might have been not true. That they were wearing a Bajoran looking garb. That's true.
Hasbrat
true.
might just be like a very common dish.
There
You know
was
what I mean?
there was a Bajoran
which
looking garb on one of them. That's what I'm getting confused
Wow.
about. Sorry.
If you were to make one Earth dish like intergalactically famous or
Pizza.
renowned, yeah, I was gonna say it probably have to be pizza, right?
It's a pizza. What do you guys say? I want to know what the audience thinks.
Jambalaya.
Hmm?
Jambalaya.
And beets. By the way, he's making a souffle. He in
No,
the
it's
in
ice cream.
equilibrium.
It's ice
Siska's
cream.
making.
Everyone loves ice cream.
It would be pizza. I really think pizza would win.
You think?
And oddly, I can't think of one instance of anyone having pizza on Star Trek. Can you?
Yeah, I think they have
Oh.
pizza in Enterprise, right?
Oh, it would be.
and
Enterprise.
also when Tom Paris is becoming a lizard, he shouts pepperoni pizza. You don't remember the most important episode of Star Trek, Threshold?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember the most important detail of that episode. It would say lizard pizza. Quality Star Trek.
Hey,
Yep.
Gas Mask! I did Ponfar for Gas Mask on a live stream once. So Ponfar to you, Gas Mask. Sean, I thought was brilliant. Thanks for dumping on my ego.
Oh, Linus is sinus.
It's not like species cuisine is only served on its planet of origin.
Yeah. And considering I think Quark made, served Hasbrat, he probably like spread it throughout the galaxy.
Oh, true. But
Yeah.
a quarkized Hasperat.
Well,
Interesting.
none of the hosts are Bajoran. They're all
No,
Trill.
they wouldn't be. They're all Trill. That's where I made
Just
the
to
mistake. Where I was
confirm, but
like,
none of them,
yeah.
none of them are wearing seemingly.
Bajoran garb.
You don't think
No.
the blue number, the blue Rappy number,
The
didn't
blue
look
number.
Bajoran?
The blue rappy number.
The dude wearing the blue. I'm just doing the.
Okay,
I'm calling it.
so
Yeah.
one looks like a Greek goddess. Two of them are wearing Starfleet uniforms.
Future Starfleet. And then
And
one
then-
of them's wearing Picard Starfleet.
One of them is wearing Picard Starfleet, and then one of them is wearing the blue. Yeah, but I wouldn't see that specifically as Bajoran.
Tall seems to enjoy. Tall's hosts seem to enjoy being in Starfleet. That's interesting.
I mean, I think it would be like, honestly, Starfleet, you don't have to be Starfleet or Federation or whatever but Starfleet seems like a great opportunity to learn things and go places. Sometimes you might get, taken to the future, but it seems like a great opportunity to learn
Into the
things.
past. Or
There was
taken to
another-
the Delta Quadrant.
Oh no,
Uh,
especially if you're like of a scientific mind or like very curious a person.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was trying to say, I think on Jesse Gender's review of this episode brought up an interesting point, which is how the trauma of being separated from your loved ones and stuff really shown in this episode, and wouldn't it have been great if any of that was shown in Voyager at all? Just being trapped
That's
so
a
long in
really-
the trauma of that. I mean, I love Voyager. It was like my first track. But yeah, they could have done so much with it.
They were kind of over it, right? Like, well, does
They
Janeway
were
kind of
kinda like,
lament
here we go. Let's go."
about Mark every now and then? Doesn't she?
I
Like,
think
and-
they deal with it quite well in Voyager. They don't.
Oh, here we
focus
go.
on
I knew this
No,
was gonna happen.
know.
He's
Okay, honestly,
Voyager
deal with it.
Defender.
no, they deal with it quite a lot because we have a lot of Janeway, and even though we don't talk about it in the early seasons, once they start communicating with Earth, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of like, oh, we need to talk to people, and it's like, oh, but we need to send the doctor to go save Zimmerman, and like everyone's like, but I wanted to receive letters, and they're like, everyone's all,
He's just gone.
he just left. He's like, I can't
Yep.
deal with this. Too many Voyager spoilers. No, I think
You
Voyager
make
dealt
some
with
good
it
points. Yeah,
quite well.
I was just trying to make a jab at Voyager.
no, but
Everyone's trying to make a jab.
in the
at
case
Voyager
of
all the
Discovery
time.
and in the case of Voyager, you can I suppose you can only deal with it so much.
Yeah.
In the case that you kind of need to move your story along and focus on your main characters, and in the same way you can't have like Voyager had that initial thing where it was like the Maquis and Starfleet. You can't drag that on for like 5 seasons. It's like at some point try and find like innovative stories and move on and with your creativity. You can't just drag out, I suppose. But I think this was addressed in this episode, and they're kind of going to move away from that now. Like now that we know that they're dealing with it, they're getting better. You're just going to assume that they get better over time. I think the focus might be on Detmer, maybe.
Yeah, it would be nice because it feels like Culber is really going into like the counselor role of the ship. It would be nice to get some, counselor session scenes of just like him talking with Detmer, him talking with another person 2 episodes later. That would be nice to just show that it is progressing, but I agree with you. I wouldn't want to.
I think Stamets needs some counseling as well because he was really mean in this episode. And I understand that he's probably distraught as well, just in a different way. But I think that like clearly in that scene, Detmer was not herself, and she wasn't making fun of him or anyone. Like clearly you could see that she wasn't well. And for him to react like that, I was kind of like, that's not very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should have shown a little more concern, but something's off with him too because he's been bitchy since this scene, a non-living interface for the dash drive. Like I thought he was really resistant to it, and I found that odd because I would think that like he would have realized what Saru said, like should you become incapacitated, we would no longer be able to jump, which is like kind of essential to our survival and advantage in this world. So that was interesting too. I didn't like the
Stamets was always mean. Triangulum says Stamets was always mean. He was. Stamets was always kind of a difficult person, like from day one on Discovery.
But he lightened up, and I guess that might have been an effect of like he started to lighten up when he got loopy, and then in season 2 I thought he was rather like mellow, but I guess I have to go back and watch. But here it was reminiscent of season 1, episode 1 Stamets, where he's like, "Don't lurk."
Episode 3.
Episode 3, sorry, Stamets. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I do like that they are addressing this, because I do think it's going to be important towards my theory of the dash drive will somehow save Starfleet, or somehow they'll incorporate this technology, the Spore technology, into the rest of technology, and they'll have solved into future technology, and they'll have solved the problem with the mycelium network being torn up every time you go through it, because they solved the warp speed limit problem. So why not?
I'm kind of disappointed they didn't tie into the warp speed limit, actually, because like the whole burn has become a thing about like dilithium going. Like they could have turned this, like switched this in a way like it's not dilithium that was destroyed, but rather, you know what they established in TNG season 7? They established that like using warp drive on the same spot all the time kind of wears down subspace and creates like subspace instabilities. Maybe like they could have played the burn up in that way. Like, oh, well, everything has become so unstable because no one respected the warp drive limits. Maybe the Federation were trying to enforce it. No one cared. And then so everything became unstable. And they could have played it that way.
In that scene in engineering, I thought a lot about TNG, like the conversation he was having with Tilly with the technobabble. And I was wondering, because sometimes in Discovery, technobabble seems like really off to me. Like it doesn't seem like the actors are delivering it, quite like how I expect it to be
in
delivered.
Discovery, or in this scene specifically?
In Discovery sometimes, but in this scene it was very kind of like evident to me, and I realized TNG kind of has conditioned me to they always have their arguments in a calm fashion. Everyone's just kind of like, well, I disagree with you, but have you thought about this and that? Like, so it's like here when you see like technobabble being like inserted into these like very tense situations, that's what I realized for me. That's what's been kind of throwing me off with the technobabble this whole time. So that was an interesting thing. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what the non-human, how this dark matter stuff is going to come into play with the Spore drive. Another thing I really loved, that I had a concept that I learned, like I think it's something really cool, is the post-traumatic growth theory, and I really like that because I kind of was like like I was kind of like, what is the solution to post-traumatic stress? Like, is it medication? Is that? It's like, I think focusing on growth is an excellent way to like kind of work through PTSD, and I think that like what Culber said about it was really poignant, where he said it's about like changing the way you live, because trauma kind of forces you to be a different person or like to grow, and so if you can focus on that, I think you can handle the stress better. The other thing I liked about that whole scene is that he calls her out on being a responsibility hoarder, and like that's kind of like really another good kind of in-world call out to this kind of outrage that the fan community and viewers of Discovery have about her character being kind of like always trying to save everyone and always wants to be at the center of attention. And so Burnham admitting that she's working on that was a really cool kind of scene. And then I liked how later on, when she's with Adira, how Adira says, I don't want to let anyone down. Burnham kind of pauses and does like a kind of like almost a light laugh, like realizing, oh, she's just like me. This was an excellent pairing. Like now I see why, he wanted me to go down with Adira. So I really enjoyed that. It was very well crafted, and it kind of had a lot of layers that I enjoyed.
The show still needs to work on that a bit, because even though like many people could make arguments for or against like the Mary Sue aspect of Burnham, like in this episode, she doesn't exhibit any particularly, like she's not skillful in any particular way. So you couldn't say that she's like the most badass or she's the most experimented person. But just the fact that the show took the time to take her alone down with Adira, and then she, which is not joined and not a trill and has nothing to do with anything, still gets to go into the pool and do all of that. That's something I think the show needs to work a bit on. because it would have been like I know that they wanted that moment between like Burnham and Adira, or Burnham and like Ambassador Tal or whatever his name was. But like it would have made more sense to have one of the Guardians go and try and find Adira in the pools. In my mind, like someone that's actually Trill, someone that knows how the symbionts work, rather than just some random that you
The
don't know who
Guardians-
she is, what she's doing.
The Guardians are just another Trill person, but I think that what's
No,
not
the
said on
Guardians are
screen.
more than that. They take.
We are
Black.
we are coming up to the end of our hour, so sorry for keeping you there, Sean. it breaks my
I'll
heart.
be back.
Okay. It breaks my heart whenever baby on the tube. I'll remove Sean for a second so that he has his privacy. I was gonna say that where were we saying? Babies are so cute,
About
so
the
adorable.
Guardian entering the pool instead of Burnham.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the only it's not
yeah, I
it's
can-
not illustrated directly, but I think it's important because the Guardian made the decision to let Burnham into the pool because Adira has to accept her into that weird subconscious world, and Adira may not let a Guardian or another Trill who she already
Yeah.
doesn't trust in. So I think that's why they were like, oh yeah, if there's any way to save her, go ahead. You would be, again, it would have been nice to get a little piece of dialogue or something confirming that, but that's just the impression
Well,
I
I
got.
think the Guardian does say you have to guide her out of there.
Oh yeah,
and-
you're right.
I think because Burnham knows Adira, however briefly,
We got a theory
would be
for you.
better than the Guardian.
Hit me,
All right, so
smack me.
you were saying, why does Burnham have to go into the pool? Why not like a Guardian, right? Like going into the pool. And so like we surmised together that like I know I have to pull you into it, Dom. That the world that she was that connected, world that she's in, Adira has to let someone into her subconscious, so to speak, and Burnham's the only person she trusts and is familiar with, and the Guardian would have probably sensed or known that, and that's why he, as Dom said, says you have to guide her through. Like that's why they're willing to let Burnham go through. He even says this is our only chance, because they were kind of appalled. They were like, "What? Don't let this crazy person go into our pools." Like they did object to it, now that I think of it, and the Guardian is the one that says that she has to go in, and it does make sense because she has to be accepted by Adira into her subconscious. So that's why. What do you think?
Or it's even.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine. And then, I think it's fine in an in-universe explanation. I just think that Discovery and Discovery fans need to understand that the show is setting itself up for that critique, in the sense that it's still having Burnham do everything. And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, particularly like in this instance, you guys are explaining it fine, it works. It's just like you have to accept that Burnham is still the one that went to the planet, and Burnham is still the one that went into the pool, and the show is doing this all the time with Burnham. So like it's like the show and the people that like the show have to understand that that's where the critique's coming from, and the show is setting itself up for that critique.
I don't know what that means, except for that Toot Sweet is a reference to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I think. So,
What?
but I think well, this is funny. Toddy should have gone into the pool. He would have found Adira's Toot Sweet, but her Toot Sweet, I think Toot Sweet is a reference to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
No, I think what he's saying is tout de suite, as in straight away.
Oh,
But
it's French.
That's not a. It's
Okay,
not the
sure.
right spelling or the right language that's written down there. But
Shame on you, Triangle Studios. He is Canadian. Shouldn't he know French, or is that just people from Quebec? Just kidding. No shame. Yes, we did get Baby on the Tube. Is Baby on the Tube settled, squared away?
she's fine.
Aw.
Well, I would be okay, but Mother on Two doesn't want her coming onto the stream, so.
I had a comment here. Oh yeah, Caleb said he goes
Also, we might not be
Wait.
might not be allowed to have babies featured on live streams, right? If you can't have underage people.
It was a cameo. I think it's acceptable. You shoot her. It's clear that you shoot her off.
Yeah.
You were like, "Be gone with you, child. This is no place for you." I love how the crew can fight and make up like a real family, which they got to be now. It's true. Now we know that FFW means fast forward, FFWD over that as well.
Okay. And then FFW is fast forward. Yeah.
Caleb says, first off, love the non-binary representation with Adira, though I'm not sure how I feel about Adira and their boyfriend continuing their romance when they're essentially the same person now. So one thing to make it clear, the actor Blue Del Barrio is non-binary, identifies as non-binary, but so far as we know, the character Adira identifies as a female.
Mm.
As far as we know,
At the very least, is non-binary and is okay with
right.
she,
yes, thank
her
you.
pronoun.
Indeed. So you're right. So you can say she.
Him and her. On the show, as it stands, it's him and her, right?
Yes, she said my boyfriend. So Gray identified as a boy or non-binary. I love it. It's cool. I'm learning so much because I'm so locked into my binary way of thinking, and it's great to be able to kind of like understand it more. So it's very cool.
I would be a little worried if Adira themselves isn't non-binary yet, and their experience with the joining causes and regaining the memories causes them to be non-binary, because
I would like it better if they were already. Yeah, it's true.
Quite iffy. And I'd like it if it's more, because it's a human, it's the human aspect of looking at non-binary and all that stuff, instead of seeing it through another lens of alienness. It's a quite complex situation, so I don't know how to 100% talk about that.
Talk about it, yeah.
But those are my initial concerns.
You're doing a good job by expressing yourself. I think that's how we learn and talk about everything.
I mean,
so that's cool.
It really helped watching Jesse Gender's review on it and their opinion on.
Everyone go watch it. I'm going to go watch it straight after the stream. That's very cool.
Because I was like, I could never, in my reviews, get to the complexity that they got to in their review on this topic. So, yeah.
Hey Eric, welcome to the stream. I like that Culber is taking on the counselor role just like McCoy did on TOS. Yeah, it's not bad. We were talking about that earlier too. It's cool. Stamets was always mean that we already talked about that. Let's see here. Can swear again yet? No, he can't swear yet. He's actually done a really good job. I haven't heard you swear at all. Have you sworn?
Me?
Did you swear this episode? You didn't swear, right?
I said dick, I think. Does that count?
No, it doesn't count. No, that one doesn't count. We're gonna be like, no, that bitch, that doesn't count. It's like no.
I didn't go there. I'm doing fine.
Stamets being the negative for the spore drive, the navigator, the negative. I don't know what the navigator for the spore drive is part of what he was negative Nancy in this episode. It's part of what makes him special. So it makes sense that he'd be low to give it up. It does make sense. Isn't anybody else afraid that Zora will totally take over? Why are my lights flickering like that? That's weird. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, your lights are weird.
So weird. Isn't anybody else afraid that Zora will totally take over the ship and we'll have to have an episode to coming to some agreement?
I want to keep with my Klabauterman idea and just be like, no.
No.
I think Calypso also makes it that not to worry. But I'm not worried.
There could always be the episode where there is conflict, and then by Calypso it's all sorted. But I don't want that.
I wouldn't put that I wouldn't see the show putting that right in our face straight away. Like I would keep that as like a slow burn. Like if you're still going on for multiple seasons, just have us know that the ship can kind of save itself, or like Zora's around, she can help, what have you, but don't put her in the foreground right away. Just let that story evolve naturally and use it when you need it. Like when whatever episode needs it later on.
Though I'd definitely say don't forget about it, because you
Yeah.
could have a situation where, oh, the ship, because it's Zora, should have totally done this thing, but
Yes,
they
it's-
forgot about it. So the shields didn't activate in time. Why didn't Zora do it? Yeah.
Hmm.
So they've just tried to keep, a brain cell open to remember that one thing. Then the rest of the brain can just focus
Can
on stuff.
do everything else. Caleb says, secondly, Michael has finally grown on me. Didn't like her in season 1, and she was tolerable in season 2, but this season she's just so fun. I thought that was well illustrated again in that scene with Adira, where she's kind of smiling and laughing and walking, and that whole scene with like where she's like, you want to go down to the planet? You're good? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. And then she's like, okay, bye. And she just like walks away. And then, Jira has to kind of, take back what she said, which is really a good scene. And I thought that was very well illustrated in the scene about her lightness. And Stress Free K, she's also grown too. Caleb, looks like they wrote her to have this kind of arc. If they didn't, they're doing a good job of doing it now.
I will say, in regards to having this, 1 year skip, they've just skipped over that, and Burnham is a different character. I'm fine with it, but I can see it being an issue. Just being like, okay, she is very different from season 2, and we just got, oh, she was here for a year. She's different. There you go.
Very
It's
cool.
kind of what we got for Picard when Picard picked up, though.
Yeah.
With which characters?
With Jean-Luc.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
Seven.
yeah.
It's like, oh, by the way, all of this happened, so Seven is
Yeah.
now completely different, and it's like
I
just
would
accept
just say
it.
it's different between. I'm fine with it being at like the start of the shows, because it's like, yeah, but when it's between seasons,
Yeah, fair enough. It's very different. It's not the same show,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
The responsibility hoarder is also following up on similar criticism that Spock had of Burnham as well. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. In that scene where he gets really angry and he's like, I love being angry. I'm really enjoying it. Ah.
There he is.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that scene, but I like Ian Peck Spock. He's a really good Spock.
Ethan.
I
me.
thought you were trying to talk about Lumberjack.
Did I say Ian Peck? I meant
Yeah.
Ethan Peck.
It's
My
Ethan
Lumberjack
Peck.
Spock. Yes, he's who Lumberjack Spock is based on. It's true. You're absolutely right. Burnham was her best in this episode. I actually liked her for the first time, and the hair helps too. She does look very fetching.
So
in that
many
hairstyle,
people
it's
are
true.
talking about that hair.
Yeah, I know.
She does. I thought there was one scene in particular where she was framed really nicely, and I
think on
felt
the
her
planet-
beauty.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
I will say I liked her season 2 hair more, but I like this hair. Yeah. It's weird.
I don't care in the slightest about any of the characters' hairs. To be frank, but I've always found Michael Burnham, Tanika Martin Green to be pretty.
Mm.
Like even
Yes.
The Walking Dead, she was pretty. And The Walking Dead does nothing to try and make their characters pretty. Believe me.
We touched on the feast scene a little earlier, but what did you guys think of Giorgio in this episode? In that scene?
Okay,
Just
wh-
there.
Yeah, I don't know why she was invited. I would have preferred Reno instead of Giorgio.
Excuse
Like
me.
she doesn't
Sorry.
need to be there. But I found her.
Sean wants her in the brig. He's like, she should have been having her meal in the brig.
And she should have been, drinking water and eating dry bread. But
I really think it would have been.
the
I think it
wine
really
comment
would have
at
been
the end.
interesting if Saru locked her up. Actually, that would have been an interesting, different thing.
The only thing that's
ship
weird
should
about
kill her.
having her,
No, Zora
In
should just
this-
zap her.
the weird thing about having her in the feast scene is that the last feast scene we got in this whole show, and
It's
with
her eating
Giorgio,
Saru.
they were eating Saru.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird.
Oh, it is weird how she grabbed
that's
that.
the last one.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But
That's really
I
gross.
did have a laugh out loud chuckle when she says
Oh.
the wine was good, and then she picks up the bottle, and then like when she picks up the bottle and goes to leave, I'm like, that was fun. But she's kind of like that. She's kind of like the teen with an attitude during the whole. Like she's the one that's answering back at Saru. It's like she's the kid at the back of the classroom, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that Nan didn't know what a haiku was, and I like that the
No
way
one
that it was.
explained it to her. Oh
No,
my god.
they didn't explain
They
it
did not.
directly, but yeah, no, but like Tilly counts out the what is it?
5
Tilly
seconds.
counts
17.
out. Later
the
on,
sil-
Detmer
and
says
then
it's a
Detmer
poem.
says, but she says 575,
575.
which is the
But no one
format.
responds to her question. Nan says, "What is a haiku?" And no one addresses or even remotely
I
acknowledges
think
the
that
fact that she spoke. I'm like, oh,
she looked it up later. Zora told when she got to her quiz.
that's
Zora was
not
like,
nice though. I
"Non,
feel.
I
I hope
noticed they
someone
didn't tell
explained it
you
to
what
her.
a haiku was."
Linus was just under his breath, like, "Oh yeah, it's 575 syllables." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming someone off camera just told her, like, oh,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
way, it's 575. It's a human thing. They do that.
Yeah,
I
it's weird.
I actually like that the scene was really kind of intense and how it ended, like how everyone was like, "Okay, we're just gonna leave now." Like that was like because
It
what I
was well
expected.
done because
It was well done because it subverted my expectations personally. I thought it was gonna be super feely and good. I thought they were gonna resolve
So that's the rest of the
everything there at the table, honestly. So I was actually like,
Um,
surprised
It's
that
more
it went
feely
the
than
way
what
that
you
it did.
think because Stamets leaves. Like Stamets storms off, but Kolba, he throws a look at Saru, like I'm following Stamets. This is not a statement as to what you've done. It's like I need to follow my boyfriend. So he leaves because of that. Detmer leaves after Owo says that she's like, you did land the ship, you did good. Detmer leaves, and then Owo's like, she's my friend, I'm following. And I think who else goes with them? Is it Tilly? Someone else go. They the three of them go together, and then I forget what then is. There's like Bryce and Reese. Is
Bryce
it?
and Reese. Then
Okay, they
either
leave together
forward-
because they're like they're best mates. They're the Harry and the Tom, so they leave together. But one of them strokes Saru's shoulder as he leaves, as in like you did good, but like there's no
this
point
is
of
what
us just
happens
hanging
at some
around. Like
meals.
yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and just like indulge
Awkwardly.
Murajoju's whatever. Like I gotta leave now. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it was well handled, and I think everyone left kind of well.
Yeah. So, I just want to get back to Nan for a second,
Oh yeah, sure.
which is so on Twitter. I think a couple of days ago, the person who like makes languages for Trek came out and said, "Oh, for this season, and I think for the next episode, keep an ear open because I made Trill a language, and also Barzan, which is Nan species." But I don't know if I heard anything that Nan said that was.
I think
language.
I didn't hear her say anything either.
Maybe got
I saw that tweet too. So yeah, this is the first time we hear the Trill language, I guess. And for Barzan, he enhanced it because I guess they speak Barzan on TNG. So maybe we have yet to hear. Like he just added to Barzan.
I was intentionally keeping an ear out for Nan to say something. Barzan. But
did you hear a horse whinny? No, I'm sorry. That's the worst Barzan joke you could ever make. Because the things look like never. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
sorry.
Bad joke.
Sorry.
Let's move
on. That's cancel Starfleet Boy.
I think we need to give the ratings. I think we've come to that point.
There's a couple of things real quick. Ian says that Star Trek Prodigy going to be Baby on the Tube's first Star Trek series?
Probably.
Oh,
well, actually, she saw a lot of Voyager. Actually.
Oh, she's just like you. He saw Voyager when he was like an infant as well.
Yeah, she's been sitting around watching a lot of Star Trek as we watch it, and so we're like we couldn't watch Picard, and I don't think we could watch Discovery.
Though, you cannot watch Picard with the baby.
This season's fine, Discovery.
I don't know. I don't know.
And some episodes of Lower Decks were fine, some weren't.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, she doesn't like the Cerritos. Every time the Cerritos comes on screen, she goes, bleh.
Kids today are so lucky. Like the things that I found out, my friend Ruben was exposed to like a terrible horror movie when he was like a 3-year-old, and so like that doesn't really happen as often. I don't think it happens as often anymore. All right, we'll just go through my last couple of notes here, and then we'll give the rating because you're right. We've been going on for an hour and 19 minutes. I didn't like that they called Discovery a monster. even though that's how they refer to large crafts sometimes, like you landed that monster. But I wish they had said something like that baby, because I'm thinking now that it's going to give Zora a
It's sentient.
complex.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's going to give Zora a complex now. Like, I feel
Oh,
like
no.
that's not a good way to refer to the ship. We didn't talk about this, but I
Ship
love
shaming.
this
The
ship
symbiont?
shaming. The
Or symbiote?
symbiont. Oh, I did it. See, look at that evidence that.
God damn it.
Let me
Fake
fix
fan.
it. Thank you. Symbiont. Symbiont. I love the symbiont universe. Thank you. I love the symbiont universe. The like whole. I was wondering in the trailer what that was going to be. I thought it was like some future
I
tech
thought
or
it was going
something.
to be like the Temporal Observatory from
Oh
Enterprise.
yeah,
And I
that's
was
right
like,
from
oh
Enterprise.
yeah. I'm glad it's this. But, you know, as well, Temporal Observatory would have been cool.
We might still yet.
What do you
get it.
mean? What do you mean by the symbiont universe?
Like the inside, the internal with the connections
The
and like that.
threads.
I'm calling it the symbiont universe. It's not.
I
that's
think I thought that was like a very personal representation of what that was. Like that's how Adira perceived it.
Yeah,
I'm assuming
I
that any
thought
other
that as
Trill
well.
would like, or any other.
Burnham saw it too. Oh,
Yes,
but Burnham was
but
watching her.
Burnham
You're
saw
right.
it
Yeah, I
You're
feel
right.
like it could have been
Adira.
different for someone else.
Yes, I very
That's
much
how.
think
That's
that.
yeah.
I agree, but I love the way it was portrayed. I guess then we'll call it Adira's universe. I love the way that it was
the visual
portrayed.
effects weren't the best, but they were fine for TV, and it was. I feel like it was kind of like when we went to the Mycelium Network with Tilly. It was kind of rough, like it was very blue, very hazy, and all the CG was kind of. But this
Yeah.
was like a cleaner kind of version of that, even though it's not the same thing at all. But you guys know what I
Oh,
mean.
but
like,
it's an
like-
interesting, similar kind of vibe. You're absolutely right. Jeff Russo's music in that scene in particular was superb. Another connection to Equilibrium.
We got a
was-
similar theme, musically, with Adira again when she was working with Burnham. When she tries to catch up to Burnham, we got like that music again. It's not the same music
yeah.
as they had, but like she has like
She has a theme.
going on. Yeah,
a motif, as it
Yeah.
were. And I loved Gray's theme, I guess, with the cello that they introduced, and like that whole like climax like was just like the music was part of what was making it really emotional for me. And I love that there was another connection to Equilibrium, which is Jadzia suddenly is able to play a musical instrument when she starts remembering that forgotten host, and at the end now here's Adira playing the cello, which is something that Gray could do, or one of the previous hosts, and so on and so forth. So that was all really. Oh, Senatal was the one.
Yeah, because Adira says it was a lullaby Senna's parents made.
Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. And then just like all the third, like in that same scene, that third eye effect, one of the things that I really took note of is like here's where the supposed third eye is, and that's what was lighting up on
I thought
Adira
it was just the whole
when
face.
yeah, but like it was kind of, there was like a centralized kind of
Okay.
like circular area there, but when it like and it started from there, but the music complemented it so well that it actually gave me a chill right here when that happened. Like I was like, whoa, did my third eye just wake up because of this music in this episode? The other thing I really loved, I don't know how
Yes.
you guys feel about quilts, but the quilt and the fact that like here's this gift marking this occasion, and then it's the same thing that Gray's being wrapped in as Gray is dying, and it was just too like
And
it was like
It's the memories they had together.
yeah, and the memories are now being transferred. It was just like really epic stuff there. Like again, I just like really love that. So enter Adira Tal. Welcome to the circle, Adira. Welcome to the circle. And I think that's the only other note that I had. Sorry, I know we're going way over, Sean. I know you gotta go. Just I love the crew watching the movie. I didn't like that it was in the cargo bay and that the cargo bay was open. If the shield failed, the entirety of the crew of the Discovery
Well, that's
Well,
what
that's
it
because they
is,
have no
the
door.
whole ship.
jettisoned out into space.
No, it is
No, I
nice
probably it closes
because,
quickly. Probably.
You know, at
They
the
have
end
no
of
door.
At the end of Calypso, Zora plays Funny Face using those same projectors in the cargo bay. And
No, it was on the bridge. Wasn't it
No,
on the bridge?
no, at
Oh.
the end,
Oh, at
it
the
was in the cargo bay
end.
when he went off.
Superb.
Um,
Okay.
and it seems like Zora's love of classical movies will develop from this, suggesting Buster Keaton, and then, he'll go on to Fred Astaire and all that stuff.
So this
Very
was
cool.
what was this? What were they watching?
Buster Keaton.
Buster
Okay.
Keaton.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I got. If you guys don't have any other notes, let's start rating this episode, and
one
audience
last
start
thing.
rating it too. Go ahead.
The popcorn boxes which they were eating is the same popcorn boxes that Kraft eats popcorn from in Calypso.
That's
I mean, it's just a
cool.
popcorn box with the Delta on it, but it's still cool that that's Discovery's iconic popcorn box.
It's the base. It's like the baseline popcorn box for Discovery.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, some of the folks who got those little box sets for Discovery, there was popcorn in
Yes,
there as well, and I wonder
With
if they
those
had the
boxes.
popcorn.
I
That
think
was
there
cool,
was
yeah.
boxes. Yeah.
Good
The
point,
season
Dom.
2 gift box have like ganglia that you could eat.
Oh my god.
No, that was season 1 box.
Oh, that's right. It was season 1. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ian brings up a good point real quick. Star Trek 6's feast scene was very awkward too. It's true. You're absolutely right. That kind of a similar vibe on there. All right, I think that's it. So, are you guys ready? I get
Oh god.
Discovery's making it so hard for me to not give a 10, but I'm not going to give a 10.
Mm.
This one gets a 9.8.
Oh damn.
Dan,
All right, whoever wants to go next.
you can go
All
next.
right, I'll go. It wasn't as good as episode 2 in my opinion, but considering I didn't very much like episode 3, this was a big step up. I do think there were some pacing issues, like it was pretty long, and I think they could have cut down on some of the melodrama or the relationship thing. I would have taken 10 minutes off this episode. But yeah, I'll give it like a 6.
Okay.
You get the
I
last word tonight,
can't
Dom.
remember what I gave last week's and the week before. I think they were like 6s and 7s.
7s, yeah.
So I really enjoyed this episode. I did kind of tear up, but only because Zora appeared, not because of any of the emotional stuff. I just like Calypso references.
Eric just got his answer. Eric was wondering in a tweet earlier who your character was, and you didn't want to
yes.
give away spoilers, so that's cool.
Yes, it was Zora appearing, made me tear up. I just love Calypso so much. I'm gonna give it probably an 8.5.
Woo!
It's not a perfect episode, obviously, but it might be my favorite one of this season so far. There we go.
It is my favorite episode so far because, unlike you guys, I ate up the romantic stuff. I was just like into it completely, and again, I'm worried about the ghost thing. That it doesn't come without like conditions. Like it's not unconditional romantic love, but I am worried about how that's going to be handled. But just as far as the backstory goes, excellent. I was like, oh my god, just killing me.
I take a space cowboy over romance any day.
You would. It's true. All right, we'll go through the ratings real quick, guys. Thank you so much. So 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, let's see, another 9 out of 10, and a 7. Yeah, this was a highly rated an audience favorite. So very, very cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry I didn't get through all the comments, but it's sometimes when you're having fun in the discussion, you can't read all the comments. So now you know, Trek on the Tube, when I get lots of comments, it's because I'm not having fun. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, Live long and prosper, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, tomorrow is TQIF.
It's also the
Vancouver's
Mandalorian
Friday,
tomorrow.
and it's also
Oh,
the Mandalorian. So on Starfleet Boy After Dark, we'll be talking about the Mandalorian.
Oh,
Woo!
very
Hey.
Go check out the review that Dom wrote on Trek Central. It's up right now. So go check that out. And then, are you going on Sunday? Are you gone this Sunday?
I think, yes, I am on live stream this Sunday
Very
talking
cool.
about this episode on Trek Central. So yeah,
On Trek Central.
me
So
out.
very cool. And then, of course, subscribe to Trek on the Tube. Let's get him to 20. Subscribe and let every single person you know that they have to subscribe, because we want to get him to 20,000 viewers. So
My
that's gotta
next review, my review
I
of this
mean,
episode will be less
subscribers.
controversial, I think.
Oh, come on. Come on. Just be you. You're not controversial. Well, you might be a little controversial. That's true. All right. Anyways, live long and prosper. And we will see you next time. And welcome to the circle.